Hey everybody, welcome to At the Table. I'm Mayor KP Westmoreland, and I just want to let you know, since this is our first program of At the Table, this is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time now, and this is our very first program for At the Table. And what we want this to be is an interactive 30-minute program where we're going to be discussing Bethany issues and topics. And if you have comments or questions, then Barry behind the camera might pick yours and read yours, and you may become a part of this program. So please give us your comments and your questions, and we'd be glad to bring you into this program. Tonight I have our Vice Mayor Jeff Knapp with us, as well as Dr. Rick Farmer. Dr. Rick Farmer is a Bethany resident. He is also the editor of 4 books that have dealt with elections and term limits. And tonight our focus is going to be on the February 12th election, where we have 4 candidates for our council seats out of all 4 wards that are running for these seats. But on that ballot, we will also have 5 propositions for possible changes to sections of our city charter. Dr. Farmer also was on the Charter Review Committee that just wrapped up and presented to council some options of possible changes that might help further our city to move forward. And so tonight we just present these 5 things and have a discussion so that you can know what they are. And if you have any questions, then please jump right in to this program. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Dr. Farmer, you guys worked for how many months on the Charter Review?
Probably about 12 months.
Okay. So there's been a lot of work that's gone into this, and you guys brought to council, and even the Charter Committee wasn't fully 100% in agreement on all the topics, because nobody really can be.
Of course not.
And so, but these are the things that the council has chosen out of the list that you brought, that we thought these are probably right now the most important for our city. Let's give the citizens an option to possibly change some of these. And really all this is doing is giving the citizens of Bethany the opportunity to have a voice and say, maybe this is a good idea and maybe this is something that should be changed. So I just want to run through these 5 things and take each one, and everybody just kind of jump in. The first one, Proposition 1, is to amend to remove the residency requirement for the city attorney. Obviously, we've had a city attorney for like 46 or 47 years that lived in Bethany that is known throughout the state and very well respected, that just recently retired from doing the City of Bethany attorney business, David Davis. I don't know of anybody that has been in the business on council that has been in the business of trying to hire a city attorney for Bethany, obviously for 46 plus years. But here we are. And the City of Bethany is 5 square miles or 5.2 square miles. And this, in my opinion, would allow us to have a bigger net to possibly draw in the better qualified attorneys that may or may not live within the City of Bethany. What do you guys think about this?
Well, go ahead.
The Charter Review Committee kicked this around, and basically we felt like that it may be difficult to find someone who is qualified, someone with experience working with cities. So obviously we have attorneys who live in the community, and some very prominent ones, but we don't have anyone living in the community who has experience with the statutes that a city deals with.
Because it's a completely specialized thing.
It's a specialized set of laws. And so the city may want to contract with someone who's outside of the city. The city may need to hire someone who lives elsewhere in the Oklahoma City area and wouldn't be able to, and would be able to drive in, but doesn't necessarily want to move here. So I think as a citizens committee, it's always our desire that city officials would live within the city.
Right.
But I think we recognize that might be difficult to recruit the right person for that job.
Correct. What are your thoughts?
Well, and exactly what you said, casting a bigger net, and you said very similar. It would be good to have someone who is a resident, however, and there are several attorneys. However, first of all, municipal law is very specialized, so we have to keep that in mind. But expanding that pool of potential applicants or appointees just gives us more options for somebody who first would has the experience in doing it, but would really want to participate in that. So,
And you know, Councilman, frankly, I'm less concerned about applicants than having to recruit someone. We may not have any applicants.
right.
And so we may have to go out and recruit someone, and that person might not live within the boundaries of.
What are your thoughts? Because I've had people ask me about this specifically since Mr. Davis retired. There are firms, attorney firms, that they also specialize in municipal government as well as other things. And the City of Bethany could contract with one of these firms, and you may have an attorney that shows up most of the time, but then all of a sudden it's somebody else because they're busy, but they send somebody from their firm. So you actually are drawing from multiple people within their firm. What are your thoughts on that? And they would most likely reside outside of the City of Bethany.
Well, yeah, that is a good option. And I want to go back and just say that David Davis is known around the state and really around the country for his wealth of knowledge in municipal law.
Correct.
So he's been a resource as we've gone forward, but he's just not our full-time municipal
Correct,
attorney.
correct.
So, but that is another option. I'm glad you brought that up. So, Doctor?
I think most cities hire someone on a part-time basis. And so whether you're hiring an individual or a firm, you're not hiring a full-time attorney.
Right.
In most instances. So I would expect that, or I would think that hiring a firm could be just as effective. In some cases, it could be more effective. If there are several people within that firm that all do municipal law, then they're probably going to have their own little niches.
Right.
And then they're going to share expertise among each other. So you probably get more bang for the buck that way.
Right. You guys want to move on to Proposition 2?
Sure.
Proposition 2 is to amend to change the residency requirement of the city manager. So much like the same thing, but this one goes on and says that specifically to allow the city manager to reside within 10 miles of the city limits. That actually lines up, from what I'm understanding, with state statute. And you were looking that up or trying to find something on the state statute.
I was able to be able to cite the specific statute. It's Title 11, statute number 11-10-112. It requires that, just like the ballot language reads, it requires that the city manager either reside in the city or within 10 miles of the city limits. So, Dr. Farmer, do you have anything specific about that from the charter review process?
Well, this was an issue that was brought forward by the council. But the Charter Review Committee discussed the notion of residency for a whole variety of people, including the previous one with the city attorney. And there were certainly members of the Charter Review Committee who felt that it was important for city officials to live within the city. But there were others that thought that we had a better opportunity to hire the right person if we were willing to expand those boundaries.
I think that's my deal, is the right person for the job. Since being elected mayor, I've learned that the average time frame of a city manager is like 3 years within a city. The city of Bethany has been very spoiled over the years to have people that have been 10, 12 years, like a David Davis as an attorney for 46 years. So we've gotten very spoiled, but yet the reality is if the average is 3 years, that is asking a lot of somebody to come in, purchase a home or rent a home and live in that area, knowing that 3 years from now they may not be around. I agree with this as well, just like in my opinion, it gives us a bigger net and to draw from the more qualified people or people that would fit within our city, because you got to find somebody that has the right fit, obviously. They got to know our form of government, for one, because we're a council city manager form of government, where War Acres, not too far from here, is a strong mayor form of government. And so we are what we are and don't want to change that. It works very well, but finding the right city manager is crucial because they are working hand in hand with the city council to get things done. So,
Well, and we're a charter community.
right.
As opposed to as opposed to just following the default of the statutes. So here's a bunch of statutes, just go do that.
Right.
In Oklahoma, you have the privilege of creating your own charter, and we've done that, which makes Bethany unique.
Right.
So you need someone who's truly professional, who understands how to navigate these things.
It's like our city constitution.
Yes,
The charter.
yes.
And again, I know that I've heard people saying, well, why are you going to put that on the ballot? Or not just that, but any of these items. Why would you allow that to be on the ballot? We want to be more transparent, and we want more engagement with citizens, and this is simply giving the citizens an option and a voice to say, you know what, I think it should be changed, or I don't think it should be changed. And so they're getting to weigh in on their city's charter, on something that could greatly benefit our city, depending on what they believe. Do you have anything else on Proposition 2? Because it's,
No, well, I would just add that exactly what you said, it's hard to know what these mean when you just go to the ballot,
right.
go to cast your ballot. It takes a little education.
Yeah,
So-
and that's kind of why we're sitting here tonight, is
Absolutely.
because we know we want the people to have a little more education or insight as to what these things are and why they were put on the ballot. Why is this an option or being presented as an option before they show up to the polls? Because then they're reading this, and hopefully they're not hearing it for the first time. So I think that's very crucial. Proposition number 3 is a little different as far as these are actually, we're reading these in the order that they will appear on the ballot. And so, because you're going to hear another, in a minute, residency requirement topic, but this one is not it. This is to possibly amend to include an additional exception to the prohibition of dwelling units of a greater density than 12 per acre by providing for approval as part of a planned unit development, or PUD, and in accordance with the City of Bethany's comprehensive plan. This right here has been a sticky situation for the City of Bethany for decades. And I'll just say that a couple years ago, I had a luncheon and with all the living mayors. And Mayor Faulkner and I were talking, and he was the mayor when this was put in the charter because of the reasons that they saw that they wanted to put it in the charter. There are a lot of people that feel like that is keeping progress from happening in regards to apartment complexes or different areas, keeping them from updating or renovating or that kind of thing. And so we're looking for, is this a possible fix or solution to help with developers or owners with these apartment complexes or condos or whatever else could come down the road, that this would help raise the bar, clean them up, update them, and that kind of stuff. And so we're presenting this to the council. Mayor Faulkner told me that may be one of his only regrets as mayor, or his biggest regret was putting that through. And I think probably at the time it served its purpose, but now we're wondering if it's a hindrance to the city of Bethany. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it came down to the actual language that was in that ordinance. And it comes down to, not ordinance, but measure in the charter. It comes down to the actual language. With a planned unit development, the city really has more capability to maybe put in place a property maintenance bond or something to that effect. I don't know if property maintenance bond is the correct terminology, but just so like the apartments would be able to go in and make changes to it, remodel without jumping through as many hoops. So the way it was worded, it was restricted. And so a new place could not come in and build or take what was already there and remodel that and maybe add another floor or something to that effect. So this just, it does allow the city more requirements to be put in place.
Right, and
So-
it doesn't just open it up so anybody can come in and build whatever they want to. It still has to go through planning and zoning and to the council, and then the council can deny or approve or thumbs up, thumbs down, whether they think that's a good development for the city or not. And so I agree with you. It gives the city more control, but yet gives the option of people that may want to come in here and invest their money in Bethany, and it makes financial sense for them to be able to do so. As it sits right now, people aren't going to come in and redo what we have because they can't go back with any more than 12 dwelling units, and it just doesn't make financial sense to that investment. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, in addition to that, it's difficult for existing facilities to get financing because they're out of compliance with our current charter provision. And so a bank who might be looking at a building that needs to be rehabbed says, well, I'm not going to loan my money to rehab a building that's already out of compliance. And so this has actually become a really big problem. The Charter Review Committee really kicked this around a lot, and we're certainly concerned about the density of the population, and several people expressed that concern. But this notion that we've got these existing complexes that can't be rehabbed, that's a really big problem for our city.
Right.
And then the other thing that that I heard that I found compelling is this idea about as a planned use development. So that's a very specific technical term that has lots and lots of definitions behind it that attorneys and will understand.
Yeah.
And so if it's going to be a planned use development and it meets all those requirements, plus it has to go to planning and zoning and meet their requirements, plus it has to go to the city council to meet their requirements. So you've set a really high bar, plus you've set several hoops they have to jump through to get there. So it's not going to be an arbitrary thing
Right.
where somebody can just come in and start building at will.
Right.
And I think that this PUD notion was a big part of what helped move members of the study committee along.
Yeah, and I like it specifies in here in accordance with the city's comprehensive plan.
Yes.
There were many people that spent a number of hours, months on end.
Almost 30
30
on
months.
that. No, 30
30
people on the,
okay,
on the
how long
committee.
did it take? Over a year.
Yeah, about 18 months.
Yeah, to work on the city's comprehensive plan as to this is the direction we should go. And these were citizens that chimed in and helped form this comprehensive plan. And I think it's vitally important that you don't just ignore that, but that we're using that as a playbook, so to speak, and figuring out what ordinances and things do we need to change or charter items need to be tweaked so that we can try to best accomplish this comprehensive plan for our city, because that they put a lot of time and energy into that, and a lot of people that know exactly what they're doing invested into that. And so I think this is a great thing to present to the citizens for potential charter change. Do you have anything else on that?
Well, of course, I always had to add something. It has been a hot topic, and people were, for the most part, opposed to increasing that density.
Yeah.
But with certain restrictions that are allowed in the PUD process, I think that really helps resolve that. So.
Yeah, because we kicked around just in conversation, some of us on the council, would it be a better idea to just raise it from 12 to 18, and maybe that's a better fix, or to 12 to 16 or 20 or something, and with it as if the number was the catch. And when they came back with this makes sense, and this is the way that you have more control, so that it's not just anybody doing whatever they want to do.
So that's actually one of the questions that was asked at the Charter Review Committee is what is the right number? What's the sweet spot? And nobody really seems to quite have an answer to that, because it kind of depends on the circumstances.
Right.
And so that's why you have someone like planning and zoning to oversee those things.
Right.
Maybe a developer would have a number that would meet the requirements, whatever those are. There's like, what is the sweet spot? What's the magic number? I don't know. I don't know if anybody actually knows to put a number in place.
Right.
But
And that was even, the sweet spot as far as what is the number, that was even a topic that you and I spoke about that is part of your expertise as to what is the number of items that's good to put on a ballot if you're dealing with a charter. Because you're not going to put 20 things on there. They're not going to read it. And So you want people to take it seriously, and so we decided upon 5 was the number we wanted to present, but there were probably 10 or 12 things that were on the table for discussion, and these were the 5 that we felt like at this point in time for our city, these were the ones we really needed to let the citizens look at and make a decision on. Proposition number 4 is also to remove the residency requirement, but this time for the municipal judge. There are 3 people within the city employment that the council has responsibility of hiring and firing, but that is the city manager, the city attorney, and the judge. And so these 3 things are on this upcoming ballot because, again, not everybody has a judge living on their street. And so in a town of 5.2 square miles, how many do we have that would even be interested in being employed for the city and doing this job? So we felt like, again, casting a bigger net was going to be the best thing for the city. So let's let the citizens decide.
There's a provision in here that's pretty easy to overlook, but it says that this change would remove the reference to a minor violations bureau. And there's actually a program within our current city charter that has never been used. And it's been dormant all this time. And basically, it just removes it out of there.
Okay.
That's essentially what it does, is it repeals something that has never been used in the history of the city. That's my understanding.
Which is shocking, is how does it get put in the charter if it's never been used?
Well, maybe someone thought they were going to use it, many years ago, but no one ever did.
Right. And that reminds me of the story that I heard about the young wife that husband was watching her cook, a ham for the first time, and she cut the ends off the ham and stuck it in the pot. And he asked, why do you cut the ends off the ham? And, well, I don't know. My mom always did it like that. And so she finally one day asked her mom, why do you cut the ends off your ham? Well, I don't know. Your grandmother always did that, my mom. So you'd have to ask her. So one day she was with her grandmother and said, why did you cut the ends off your ham? Because I asked Mom, she doesn't know. My husband asked me, I don't know. It's just the way we've always done it. And why did you do that? She said, because my pot wasn't big enough. So there was a reason at one time, but throughout history, all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, what's the point
That
to this?
reason isn't there anymore.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think all of these kind of fit into that. There was a reason at the time, and we just need to, look at, is that the right thing for now? Proposition number 5 is to amend to provide for term limits of 3 consecutive 4-year terms in the offices of council member and mayor beginning January 1st, 2020. I have no problem with this. Up to this point, the city has not had term limits. Some people say we actually do have term limits. It's, going to the polls and voting and vote somebody out if you don't want them there anymore. But we also have people that, end up running unopposed, and then there's not a campaign. And I think hopefully this helps more people want to get engaged and helps people, according to the chair of the Charter Review Committee, Randy Lunstra, a former council member. He's completely for this, and I give him a hard time because he's completely for this 12-year term limit thing, but he served for 16 years. And so I give him a hard time, but he will admit that he knows that the last 4 years he probably shouldn't have been there because you start getting, disengaged and not as involved in what you probably should be doing. And you have had involvement with a book specifically on term limits, and so there's something to this 12-year, not 10, not 14, whatever it is. There's something to that, isn't there?
Well, I'm not sure that there's a proven sweet spot on term limits either, but I can tell you that where term limits have been too restrictive, like 6 years, it really didn't work very well. And several of the states that set up term limits to be 6 years have actually backed them off and moved them to a longer period of time. A number of states for their legislatures have 8 years, and they still find themselves scrambling. But in Oklahoma, we initially set it up to be 12 at the Oklahoma legislature. And the average tenure of a legislator in 1990, when we were passing term limits, was 8.5 years. And so we set up a 12-year limit, which basically meant that basically people served the time they wanted to be there and then they went home. And the only people that got term limited out were people who were in really powerful positions and who enjoyed that power. And that's basically what happened in Oklahoma. And I think you're kind of seeing the same thing here. You know, not everybody's going to serve 12. Some people are going to serve 4. Some people are going to serve 8.
And you can, from what I understand, you could serve 12 years and you term out, and then you're out, and hopefully somebody's running for your spot. But you only have to sit out for 2 years, and you can come right back and run again. And if you're elected, then you can start that run
Another
again.
12.
You could do another 12. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
That's right. And so at the state legislative level, some states allow that. Oklahoma does not, but some states allow you to be out for one term and come back and start the clock all over again. Yeah.
I know that in the city of Bethany, we've had people that have served for 20 years, 30 years, and random years, 10, 9, whatever. I think it's important. One thing that I feel like is important for the city is that we are doing more proactively, trying to mentor or encourage other people to get involved. And at some point in time, we have to be willing to pass the torch to a younger generation to fill these seats and make decisions and move the city forward. And there's going to come our day to be able to do that, whether that's being voted out or hitting your 12-year mark and terming out. But we need to be doing something so that people aren't running unopposed. And honestly, I would love to run unopposed because you don't have to run a campaign. And I mean, that's part of the rules and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But more people we have to get them to want to be involved in municipal government and invest and give back to this city. And the people that have served 20 and 30 years and done that over the course in our city history, I applaud them, and I'm thankful for the investment that they've given, because they have been willing to put their name in the hat and sit in the seat and try to make decisions, hopefully for the betterment of the city. So, but yeah, I agree with this, that 12-year term limits would be a good thing.
Well, we all bring areas of expertise and background experience to the council, and allowing 12 years, somebody new can come in with maybe a different mindset, a little different creativity, a new way of solving an issue. So we've seen that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So just bringing some more energy and thought process. So
Exactly.
And it happens. It happens.
Right.
People bring different thoughts to the process.
Right, and we
so.
want that. We want that. Barry, do we have any questions?
We have a comment coming from Aja Chapman Triana, and it says, progress is being hindered because there is nothing bringing outsiders into Bethany. And she goes on to say, I need places to eat in Bethany that are not fast food or chain restaurants. We've got barely here, we have about 2 minutes left, and just wanted to know if you guys wanted to go into that.
I think this Proposition 3 helps to address that. Because if we're able to do mixed use areas, and if we're able to do this planned unit development, then I think that we'll be able to see a new style of apartments or condominiums or whatever right alongside new restaurants, right alongside new retail.
Right.
I think that's exactly what this is intended to do.
Correct. And there's a lot of work going in behind the scenes to try to bring in new development and more development to do exactly what you were asking in that question, because we all want that. As the mayor and as the vice mayor and as residents, we want to see people want to come here and eat in a restaurant, have somewhere to shop and leave their sales tax dollars here. People coming into Bethany to do that means that we go somewhere else in some other city and leave our sales tax dollars there. And so I'm in full agreement, but believe me, it's easier said than done. But there are a lot of people doing a lot of work to try to make that very thing happen. And I am fully confident that it will. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We are going to be bringing At the Table the second Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m., trying to keep it around a 30-minute program. And again, get involved. We want this to be interactive, and so please give us your comments and your questions, and we may very likely bring you right into this program here at the table with us. So God bless you. Believe in Bethany. Our greatest days are ahead of us.